The film The Bad Seed is based on the play, written by Maxwell Anderson in 1956, and the novel written by William March in 1954 with the same title, The Bad Seed. The Bad Seed is a 2018 horror film directed by Rob Lowe. The Bad Seed tells the story of a 9-year-old girl, Emma Grossman, who has an attitude disorder that is not the same as children her age. Emma lives with her father, David Grossman, who is a single father. The film The Bad Seed begins by showing a beautiful child named Emma who is contemplating at the window watching an orange cat drown in the pool in front of the bedroom window. Emma, who is going to school, looks indifferent to the cat and has no desire to help. Then Emma, who is a perfectionist, is always selective when making preparations. Due to this characteristic, Emma, who has intelligence like a jigsaw, easily won various prestigious awards at her school. After Emma finished dressing neatly, Father David took his daughter to breakfast. At breakfast, David expresses the hope of winning the gold medal awarded annually to the best student who exemplifies the school's values. Before Emma finished speaking, suddenly her aunt, Angela Grossman, came into the house and immediately told David that I had found a suitable babysitter to look after Emma. Emma, who didn't want to be treated like a child, immediately rejected this. With this, Emma became disappointed. With a straight face in her disappointment, she told her father and aunt that the orange cat had drowned. Arriving at school, in the middle of the lesson, a male student who was writing was shocked and scared to see a bee on his desk. Then Emma casually and without fear caught the bee using a glass and released it through the classroom window. The teacher who saw it was amazed by Emma's calm attitude. Meanwhile, at home, David was interviewing a girl named Chloe who would be a candidate for a nanny for Emma, and then David checked the application file. Chloe tries to convince David to accept the job because he has 5 years of experience as a nanny for the Mango Jones family. David asked about being a babysitter for Mango Jones, but Chloe answered that he was a babysitter for a monkey. David laughed and thought it was just a joke. David decided to accept Chloe, and next week was able to work as Emma's nanny. During break time, Emma looked jealous when her friend Caddy showed off her new watch to her friends. While playing, Caddy, who was running, was nudged and fell and was helped by Emma while apologizing. When Emma helped Caddy, she deliberately took Caddy's watch and put the watch in her pocket. Caddy doesn't feel like she's back playing with her friends. In the evening, Emma was busy drawing the arrival of her father. David came with a glass of Emma's favorite hot chocolate. However, Emma seemed to hide her disappointment and smiled at her father. When Dad wasn't paying attention and left me, Emma, acting strangely, was seen talking to herself in front of the mirror. The next day, David took Emma to school by car. On that day, parents accompanied their children to attend the award ceremony for the best students at school. Emma sat with her father in the crowd. By being the best student at school, you are entitled to a gold medal for your achievements over the past year. When Ellis was about to announce the name of the winner, Emma looked confident that she could get the award. Mrs. Ellis announced that this year's medal winner was Emma's classmate, Milo Curtis. Suddenly, Emma immediately became gloomy when Mrs. Ellis mentioned Milo's name as the winner. When Milo received an award, Emma didn't seem to accept it because Milo never stood out at school. After the awards ceremony, Emma and her father were seen outside the school. However, Emma expresses hatred towards Milo to her father, and David reprimands and comforts Emma. Emma said that I was surprised that Milo could win because in class Milo looked clumsy and could never speak in front of the class. In short order, Emma, who saw the parents busy chatting, invited Milo because she had something to show. Emma quietly guided Milo away from the party and through the trees until they reached a rocky cliff overlooking the sea. Milo asked, "What do you want?" Long story short, in a hurry, Emma immediately asked her father to go home. But suddenly, the parents became noisy when they heard the screams of 2 female students who had just returned from the beach. The parents went to the beach and immediately provided help to Milo. Emma and David watched from a distance as people tried desperately to revive Milo, and Milo's mother became hysterical. During Mrs. Milo's panic, with a cold gaze, Emma looked relaxed watching the evacuation process. The next day, while Emma was having breakfast, David, who was worried that my daughter had experienced trauma, immediately asked about the girl's condition. Emma assured David that I was fine and ignored the conversation. Besides, it's destiny for people to die, said Emma. In the afternoon, David, who was chatting with Angela, suddenly saw the arrival of Emma's future nanny named Chloe. Then David, who was going out of town, immediately invited Chloe in. But Chloe looks like she hasn't changed her pants since the job interview. David came in while explaining briefly to Chloe. When he met Emma, David immediately introduced Chloe, who would be her nanny while he was away on assignment. That evening, Chloe was seen entering David's room and saw a photo of David when he was young with his friends. While putting down David's photo, Emma caught Chloe. Chloe reasoned that if she had just finished closing the open window. However, after Emma left, Chloe continued the action by taking 2 of David's expensive sedatives. Without realizing it, Emma watched Chloe take the medicine from David's room. As the night progressed, Chloe, who accompanied Emma to watch television and eat snacks, suddenly asked Emma about David's ideal type of woman. But at that moment, Emma, who was not an ordinary child, could understand what Chloe meant. Emma looked at the nanny cynically. Then Emma, who saw Chloe's actions when stealing her father's medicine, immediately threatened her. Emma threatened not to hesitate to report this to David. But if Chloe complies with my wishes, I won't open my mouth. The next day, the school held a mourning event for Milo's death. Manipulative Emma is seen wearing a sad face when she meets Milo's parents. Until David expressed his condolences, while holding back tears, Milo's mother hoped to find Milo's medal. Maybe finding the medal will be a clue to finding the perpetrator. However, David said not to think too negatively because the medal might be lost in the waves. When he got home, David went into Emma's room carrying clothes and put them in the cupboard and found a doll under the bed. When David took the doll, he almost found Milo's medal which Emma had hidden under the mattress. During the panic, Emma immediately asked Dad to leave the room. Even though he was surprised, David, who understood women's feelings, felt that Emma was being sensitive. A short time after seeing photos of the event the other day, David seemed surprised when he saw a photo of Emma continuing to stare at Milo's medal. The next day, Ellis, accompanied by a lawyer, was seen visiting David's house. Ellis tried to ask Emma for information. According to the testimony of several students, they saw Milo go with Emma into the forest before the incident occurred. At that time, Emma was seen eavesdropping on a conversation with Chloe. Then Emma seemed to be looking for a way to get Ellis and the lawyer to leave as soon as possible. Suddenly, the sound of screaming and breaking glass was heard, making them approach the sound. Emma was seen falling and being injured by a broken jar, while Chloe was just standing on the sidelines, making David immediately help Emma. With her long story short, after treating Emma's wounds, David asked for the truth of the accusations that Ellis and the lawyer had made. But it was clear that Emma immediately denied it. I thought that from the start Ellis would have a personal grudge and would never appreciate what I had achieved. Hearing this, David tried to calm Emma down. In the evening, David, who had just finished showering, was immediately shocked when he saw Chloe standing behind him watching the shower. Until amidst the awkwardness, Chloe, who seemed to be expressing seduction, just walked away. Upon the next day, Chloe came to David's workplace to apologize for last night's actions of suddenly going in and out of the room. Chloe, who looked away, innocently smiled. Chloe, who continued to talk to David, made David stop his activities and immediately asked Chloe to take Emma for a walk. While Emma and Chloe were walking, Emma suddenly panicked when she saw Ellis coming to Milo's house. Seeing this, Chloe, who suspected that Emma was involved in Milo's death, asked to straighten out the story. According to Chloe, soon the police team will intervene in this case. However, even though she continued to deny the accusations, with her sharp gaze, Emma seemed to be planning something with Ellis. While returning home, Chloe looked confused looking for Emma. You can see a beehive that suddenly disappeared. After not finding Emma in David's workshop, Chloe was seen searching Emma's room. Unexpectedly, her actions resulted in her succeeding in finding Milo's medal which Emma had hidden under the mattress. Then Chloe, who found Milo's medal, hung it on David's bedroom lamp. Meanwhile, after visiting Milo's family, Ellis rushed home. However, on the way, Ellis panicked when he saw a bee in the car. Mrs. Ellis looked panicked and shocked to see the bee making the car out of control. Unexpectedly, Emma had tried to stop Ellis' investigation by moving the beehive into Mrs. Ellis' car. At home, David, who had just returned home, was surprised to see that the house was quiet. David was seen going back and forth into the room, not realizing that Milo's medal was hanging on the lamp next to his bed. A moment later, Emma, who was about to welcome David, immediately panicked when she saw Milo's medal which was hanging on the lamp. Emma immediately took and hid the medal behind her back. Seeing Emma's suspicious actions made David curious and asked Emma to show him what she was hiding. Emma immediately gave what was hidden to her father. David was suddenly shocked when he saw the Milo medal in Emma's hand. A few moments later, David was seen interrogating my daughter. However, during the interrogation, Chloe came and immediately said that I found the medal hidden under Emma's mattress. With a look full of hatred, Emma looked at Chloe as she said this statement. David continued the interrogation. Emma made an excuse that Milo got the medal when he managed to win a game of hide and seek with a medal at stake. However, at that time, Emma did not expect that something bad would happen to Milo. I was afraid to hand over the medal because I was sure that Milo's parents would blame me for Milo's death. After hearing Emma's statement which he felt was innocent, David, who was shocked, decided to go for a walk to calm his mind. While on the way, David saw many police cars and ambulances on the side of the road and saw a car in a single accident. At night, David, who was sleeping, suddenly had a strange dream. The next day, Chloe, who was preparing breakfast, looked satisfied when what Emma was hiding was now revealed. Cornering Emma, Chloe asks Emma to confess. To Emma's annoyance, her father came and asked her to return Milo's medal. After giving the medal, Emma revealed her reasons to Mrs. Milo about the game she played with Milo before the bad incident that happened. Until after hearing this, Mrs. Milo began to accept fate and revealed that she had just seen the news that Ellis had had a single accident. According to information, Ellis' accident was caused by a bee attack that was stored in the back seat. Hearing this news, Emma looked scared and immediately asked David to go home. One day, David, who was working, was immediately shocked when he saw that the beehive in the workshop had disappeared. Even though it's hard, in my little heart, I'm increasingly suspicious of Emma. Until that evening, David, who felt that Emma had a disorder, looked for an article about the early symptoms of psychopathy and how shocked David was when all the signs of a psychopath were present in Emma. The next day, David sat behind Emma, who was looking in the mirror, and wanted to invite Emma to consult a child psychiatrist. But the great thing is that Emma was able to hide her fear even though my hands had to shake and bleed to endure it all. Until the consultation started, Emma was seen trying to control her movements and speech so as not to be detected by the psychiatrist. So when the consultation ended, the psychiatrist did not find any psychopathic symptoms in Emma. A psychiatrist named Dr. March expressed admiration for David because I thought Emma was a smart girl and fun to communicate with. When David returned home, he saw Chloe on the terrace and was amazed to see Chloe wearing revealing clothes. David immediately asked Chloe to change clothes and showed up to accompany Emma. However, when she arrived in front of Emma's room, who was reading a book, Chloe pushed Emma, which I thought was just a matter of time until the police team found out about everything. Chloe is sure that David will trust me more than Emma because now the girl's father is starting to fall in love with me. Hearing this immediately made Emma even more annoyed with the nanny. In the evening, when the neat David looked ready to leave, Emma came and asked about your closeness to Chloe. Hearing this, David immediately denied it, because even though she had a nice body, Chloe was an unstable girl and not my type. David passed by Emma, who was still standing in place, to go on a date at a luxury restaurant. When Chloe was sitting relaxing watching television, she felt something strange electric. Chloe went upstairs to see from the window that David's workroom light was on. Chloe went straight to the warehouse, then accidentally kicked a can and opened the closed warehouse door. Chloe suddenly panicked when she fell into the trap, then suddenly fire came from under the door into the workshop. The flames got bigger and bigger until they burned the entire warehouse and Chloe's body. Next, the police and fire brigade surrounded David's warehouse. In the midst of panic, the police told David that Chloe had burned to death in the incident. As the night progressed, David, who was trying to prove his suspicions, was seen coming to Emma's room and asking her everything once again. After being pushed, Emma, who was cornered, finally confessed. If I let go when I grabbed Milo's medal, until Milo finally fell off the rocks. After hearing this, David again pressed Emma to admit to the psychopathic actions you committed against Ellis and Chloe. Emma made an excuse that I did all that because I felt threatened by Chloe and Ellis, who always suspected me. I even blamed Chloe for stealing her father's medicine and doing strange things in this house. Emma is disappointed in David, who is incapable of being a father. The next day, David woke up when he got a call from Sheriff Peterson, who found something wrong and wanted to ask Emma for testimony. Hearing this, even though Emma had admitted to her psychopathic actions, Davis felt sorry for Emma. David gave the excuse that Emma was currently sick and asked for the interrogation to be postponed. A moment later, David went to Emma's room to ask her to escape, after which David immediately asked Emma to pack. When they arrived at their destination, they were greeted by their friend, Brian. Until after chatting a little, Brian immediately invited Emma and David into the lake house. Then, before leaving, Brian said that Emma and David should not hesitate to contact them if they needed something. In the afternoon, David received another call from Sheriff Peterson, revealing that the fire that burned Chloe was deliberately started by someone. This time they are carrying out an investigation and trying to trace the identity of the perpetrator through the evidence they found. Hearing this, David became even more panicked about the fate that would befall Emma. The next day, when David watched a video about the characteristics of psychopaths, Emma came and watched from behind without realizing it. Knowing this, Emma, who had been peeking for a long time, tried to convince her father that I wasn't that bad. But David didn't believe what my daughter said. Until early in the morning, when David was fast asleep, Emma immediately carried out psychopathic actions. This action was carried out to kill her father with a hose stove gas. A few moments later, David woke up and immediately panicked when he smelled gas. Luckily, David woke up quickly before the heater blew up the house. Then David immediately approached Emma and asked why you had the heart to do that. Emma said, "What's the point of having a father who doesn't love your child and only sees her as a criminal?" A moment later, David decided to drug Emma with a sedative and planned to run Emma somewhere. Then David immediately brought 2 glasses of hot chocolate, one of which had been mixed with medicine, but Emma asked her father to bring additional toppings in the refrigerator. In the short time that David and Emma had been drinking hot chocolate together, David, who felt that Emma had lost consciousness, came out of the yard. David immediately called Angela to tell her everything about Emma. However, Angela, who knew David had an acute stress disorder, did not believe all the stories David told. However, in the middle of the conversation, David suddenly felt dizzy and was already on the bed. Emma, who woke up, immediately went to David's room, holding the gun in both hands, then fired the gun at David. But both shots missed. David was suddenly shocked when he saw that Emma had regained consciousness. When David went to get the toppings, Emma, who already knew about David's plan, swapped Emma for adding a sedative to the drinks. In the midst of David's dizzy state, Emma tried to perfect her behavior as if she were afraid and immediately called for help and said that my father was trying to kill me. Emma, who ran, locked herself in the bathroom and David, who had found Emma, was about to shoot. However, before David finished off Emma, Brian, who came with a rifle, asked David to stop his crazy actions. Moreover, Emma's frightened behavior made Brian even more confused. David, who tried to kill his daughter, was shot dead by Brian. Emma was hysterical when she saw David shot by Brian. When the police arrived, Brian said that David was suspected of being mad and trying to kill his daughter. When the police heard this explanation, they understood. When David's body was removed, Emma sat quietly in the car until Aunt Angela came over. This woman tried to calm Emma, who seemed to be in shock, and hugged her to give her a sense of security. Behind her aunt's back, Emma smiled broadly. Emma's obsession with being the best makes me willing to do anything. Until what was just a small psychopathic action turned into a real psychopath and made me addicted. So much so that I was happy to kill anyone who tried to reveal my actions, including my father, who was slandered and shot dead by Brian.